Welcome back. So it's time to actually start using some reactive forms. I want some kind of login page right here. So I need some input fields, right? And a button, something like that says login. So I'm going to use Angular's reactive forms for that. So that's what we're going to try and use. And I'm under the Angular IO guide, under developer guides, under forms, under reactive forms right here. And the first thing we need to know in order to use the reactive forms is we need a reactive forms module. So I'll jump into my code right here under the auth module right now, and there I'll add the reactive forms module and I'll import it. There we go. So now we have that module available. Now later I think I'll move this into a shared module because I think most of my modules are going to end up using this anyway, but let's not do that right now. Now we just have it available for the login page at least. I'll go back to the code and I want to go all the way down to form builder down here in the bottom, because a form builder is a way for us to start building forms in the TypeScript code, in my mind, in a very simple way. So I really like using this one, and I'll just grab the form builder right here, the constructor using the form builder, dependency injected right here. I'll jump into my Angular and I'll just overwrite my login component TypeScript files constructor right here to use that form builder, which we import from the forms that we're getting from this actual reactive forms right here. Good, so now we have the form builder available and we can actually use that in our code to start building a form. How do we do that? Well, let's have a look if they have some examples. They always do. I can just use this right here to start building my form, and let's just try and add that inside our login component. I'll just paste everything in there. So I want to build a login form like this, and I want my login form to only have a username and a password for now. I only want those two things, and then there are ways to kind of build subforms. I don't want to use that right now. So here we go. Now we have a login form that contains two pieces of information, a username and a password. So now that we set up the form inside the TypeScript, we need to also get the form into the HTML so we can actually see it in our web page. So let's jump back to the documentation right here and go up actually, because I think they show an example of using this in the HTML in a previous example up here. So I'll just scroll up and see if we can find some HTML that uses it. And here we actually have an example of how we can use that form profile that we just built right here. It's under grouping form controls right here. So let's try and jump back to the code and just add that instead of login works. We could add just a header up here saying login. So I'll make an H1 saying login so we know that's on the page that we're on right now. And we'll make a login form. This right here actually maps to the login form in the component TS file. So that's kind of how these guys are bound together. We can kind of map this guy to the HTML file, this guy right here. That's how they're bound together. The next thing I need to do is kind of set up all these things. So I'll make a username right here instead of the label being last name and first name. And this will be my password area right here. So that's kind of just setting up some information. This will be the text you'll see in the form. This part right here is going to be something that's going to match between the label and the input field. So these two fields are actually bound together. So in my case, let's just call this field username like this. And we'll just copy this information to the ID. You'll notice that it's red right now, it fails. But when we get the ID right here, they know they are bound together. And you can use that for different things later on. But let's just keep it as simple as this for now. We can talk about it later. We also have password right here. And we also want to map that down to this password down here as well. So now these two are bound together as well. Another thing we need to know is that we created this login form in the TypeScript and we gave it two names right here for these two form controls right here. We have username and password. Now this name will actually map and match the form control name right here and the form control name right here. So this is kind of how we bind together in the form each of these form controls right here. With this code right here, we're pretty much done. The only thing I want to do is I also want to add a login button right here, like I said. So let's add a button and let's just call it login. And that button is going to be a type of submit, meaning that this is going to be a submit button. So when I click this button, I'm actually going to trigger an event right here called ng-submit. And what do I want to do when I hit that submit? I'm actually just going to call login right here, which is going to be a method that I want to create in my TypeScript code like this. So just for the fun of it, let's actually console log right here. What will be printed if I click that login and I actually go in here and I say login form dot value. What will be printed to the console right here? And again, let's just say login info here like a string, because then it's actually pretty neat. Then I can actually show that as an actual object in the console. One more thing and then we're done. I'll go back to my HTML right here because I also want to hide the input right here so people can't see the password when I'm typing it. Pretty normal standard. So here what I want to do is I just want to say password instead of text in the type here as well. So now we have a text type up here for that input field that's readable. We have this that's going to be dots, and then we have this that's going to be a submit button, meaning that when I click it, I'm going to hit this event right here, and that event is going to just trigger this console log. Let's see this in action just to see how far we are actually already come with that simple code right there. We have a login form now, and we have a login button. So let's just open the console so we can see what's going to be printed, and let's just put in one of the informations right here, LUL and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll execute it, and let's just clear the filter so we can see all the outputs. And now you can see I just printed an actual object right here with the username and a password, and ta-da! Now we actually have some kind of login form available in HTML and TypeScript that we can use to kind of send this to the backend. Seriously, wasn't that easy? It's so easy to get started right here. So now we have that out of the way, and next lesson we're going to try and figure out how we can start using this data to actually start communicating with our backend. See you next time.